Ceroba Ketsukane is a character from an Undertale fan game appropriately named Undertale Yellow. Her story is one filled with happiness, loss, and vengeance. Out of the myriad of colorful characters within the game, I personally thought her story was the most interesting. Losing someone you care about can make you feel like a piece of you died with them, and Ceroba has lost two people. First, it was her husband, Chujin. He became sick after experimenting on himself. Ceroba was never directly involved with Chujin's work, so from her perspective, life just swooped down and took her husband away. Ceroba had a pretty good life before Chujin's passing. Big beautiful house, loving and loyal husband, well-mannered child, pretty much anything one could ask for. Then, without warning, it was taken from her. Chujin lost his job, never accomplished his life's work, and was left bedridden until the day he died. As a final wish, he asked Ceroba to continue his work, and under no circumstances would she involve their daughter, Kanako. Kanako was the second person Ceroba lost. Overhearing the conversation, Kanako later saw the messages left behind by Chujin. She believed that Ceroba was close to creating the serum needed to make everyone in the underground a boss monster. Ceroba had scrapped the idea because it would have involved using a live test subject. Her daughter advocated for the procedure despite this. Ceroba, being convinced that the process would work and the pleas from her daughter, she decided to try the procedure. Mere moments after injection, Kanako collapses to the floor and becomes unresponsive. Kanako did not die completely, but she would not wake up. Effectively, Kanako was gone and it was Ceroba's fault. In her attempt to keep her promise to her husband and take back what the humans had stolen from them, she became the despoiler of her old life. Ceroba had lost two of her closest family members in such a short amount of time. The grief was too much for her to process. The 5 Stages of Grief is an idea posed in the book On Death and Dying by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, published in 1969. It is a concept that, while not strongly supported by scientific evidence, is still a concept that has given people closure whenever they lose a loved one or have been diagnosed with a terminal illness. While I am not here to advocate for the existence of this psychological concept, I will use the idea of it to better understand Ceroba Ketsukane. Throughout the events of the game, she exhibits every aspect of this grieving process. It should be mentioned that not everyone experiences the 5 stages of grief in the same way, and while the stages themselves are always portrayed in a specific order, the order is not always how they are experienced. This is Ceroba Ketsukane and the 5 Stages of Grief.
I have, had a place near Oasis Valley. I suppose I outgrew it. Moved here a few weeks back.
Losing a loved one can make you feel like a part of you is gone too, and being the reason for that loss can only come with its own supply of guilt. The cascade of emotions one would feel after losing their family and being the cause of it is too much for one normal person to handle. Ceroba eventually made the decision to give her daughter over to Dr. Alphys and move to Oasis Village. She would live here, away from her memories of her old life, desperately looking for a distraction, and she had plenty of distractions with Starlo and his posse. Starlo is an integral part of Ceroba's character as she lives vicariously through him. Starlo is Ceroba's childhood friend and arguably her closest friend. He is obsessed with human culture, especially that which involves traditional Western films. He is the leader of the Feisty Five, a group of monsters who, kinda just lay around all day getting into various shenanigans. You get to see a bit of that as Starlo takes Clover through a series of challenges. A duel, a robbery, and a trolley problem. And while Ceroba isn't willing to go along with all of these activities, she is more than happy to let Starlo and the gang have their fun. In between the Feisty Five shenanigans, you can talk with Ceroba and get a few bits of her backstory. Ceroba talks about her old life. She says she outgrew her previous home, which I can only imagine is her being nihilistic. Ceroba's wording of outgrowing her home would imply that she believes that a happy life is something only young people have a luxury of having. This understanding of her old life is the epitome of denial. Refusing to believe the truth, Ceroba forms a new, less painful reason why she left her home. We have the benefit of hindsight, so it's safe to say that Ceroba is still trying to deny what she did. Deep down, her understanding of what happens has been warped by her guilt. It's much easier to say that your life was lost due to age and misfortune than to face the reality of your mistakes. I should probably take this time to mention that I don't believe that Ceroba is a terrible person. She just did something awful because she was determined to make her husband's life mean something. Her denial of her past transgressions becomes more obvious the more we speak to her. Whenever she vaguely mentions Chujin or Kanako, she stops and changes the subject. Over time, the feisty five become fed up with Starlo and how much priority he has been giving Clover over his other friends. Ceroba also begins to criticize Starlo, holding the belief that letting something control your life to the point it negatively affects your friends isn't healthy. One could imagine she would think twice about saying this as such, but remember, she's still in denial. It is only when the veil is pulled back and Starlo faces the truth about his own life does Ceroba enact her plan. Ceroba understands at this point that Clover's soul is pure and it could potentially save her daughter's life. So now that she is willing to try and she has the resources to save the underground, she will do it. For the sake of Chujin's legacy. If she cannot bring her daughter back, she will settle for the next best thing.
Wait a second, I have an idea. He mentioned how it was lonely, right? Well, what if we fix that? We can use scraps lying around to forge a companion for him.
You can only deny the truth for so long. Life continues logically no matter what. Ceroba lost her family, she gave her daughter to Alphys, and she left her home to try to ignore it. She distracted herself with the shenanigans and tomfoolery of Starlo and his friends, but no matter how hard she tried, her mind always wandered back to her children. Forgetting one's children is impossible, especially if you are the reason they are gone. Whenever those who try to deny the past finally face it, they are reminded by the sadness they were trying to ignore. To this, they try to cushion the blow, make the pain go away, or at least decrease the pain significantly. Ceroba doesn't bargain with money, she bargains with Axis, one of Chujin's final creations. Axis was made to protect Chujin's lab, and he is willing to do so to the very end. Ceroba is very strong, I would even argue she is stronger than Undyne. She could easily dispatch Axis and be done with it, but she can't. In Axis, she sees all of Chujin's strife, all of his hard work culminated into a single invention. While exploring the Steamworks, you find that Chujin had been developing Axis for several generations, and he had shown his robot to the Royals on several occasions. Malfunction after malfunction, Asgore had no choice but to cut ties with Chujin and remove him from employment. This robot doesn't just represent the unfulfilled dreams of Chujin, but Ceroba as well. Ceroba dedicated a portion of her life as well to continuing her husband's work, and it's that dedication to Chujin which eventually led her to hurting her daughter. In her eyes, Chujin's legacy dies with Axis. Ceroba bargains with Axis in an attempt to save his life. She barters with her words, and even comes up with the idea to build Axis a companion. Ceroba lost the love of her life, so in giving Axis someone to love, she is trading, atoning for what she did. Of course, we know it's not that simple. You can't make up for your dead husband by hooking up his robot with a girlfriend. Wow, that's a new sentence. Regardless of Ceroba's wishes, it is up to you to decide how to deal with Axis. Going along with Ceroba's plan, we'll see Axis find love in the robot you build for them. The relationship is a little rocky, but it looks like they'll be happy. Ceroba is given a brief respite for letting Axis find happiness. Right before they leave, they thank you and ask Ceroba to say hi to Chujin for them. This request triggers Ceroba's memories once again. The drive to help people is a natural coping mechanism. Those who have gone through strife want to give peace to others to make them feel better. The feeling of gratitude gives the person a sense of happiness, something to distract them. Much like before, the truth is undeniable. Ceroba is still a grieving mother unable to move past her trauma. The constant reminders of her past are certainly not helping. She must face her past. Ceroba can distract herself as much as she wants, but her turmoil sticks with her like a tumor, a pulsing, burning tumor that won't stop hurting. Ceroba uses Axis as a means of bargaining, but truly, she is bargaining with Clover. More specifically, with Clover's soul. Ceroba sees Clover's soul as the means to save her daughter, and all monster kind. Ceroba's goals have become Chujin's goals. She wants to take Clover's pure soul and combine it with Kanako's, who is still in Alphys's lab. She knows that what she is doing is morally wrong, and she knows the uncertainty of her success, but she is committed nonetheless. Right before she can enact her plan, Starlo and Ed stops the both of them. The group splits, and they later learn the truth, but Ceroba is desperate. The plan was working perfectly, and she was so close to winning and making her husband's death have meaning. This is an obstacle, a denial of her wishes. This obstacle is truth, and it is unmovable. Truth is unshakable, unyielding. To deny the truth is to deny reality itself, and Ceroba can't stand it anymore. Ceroba gets to her breaking point when Clover is in her grasp once again. She demands that everyone else leave so that she can carry out her plan. All three of them refuse. They are at a massive impasse and the conversation is crumbling. First, she denied her mistake, and she tried to bargain for the return of her daughter, and we all know what happens next. Anger isn't inherently bad. Anger is a defense mechanism, a refusal of unfavorable circumstances. Anyone can get angry, and anyone can lose their temper. Losing her temper, attacking her friends, and an innocent child are the least of Ceroba's transgressions. But it's all the result of a larger battle that is happening inside Ceroba's heart. What happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? The force is Ceroba and her drive for vengeance. The object is truth, which Clover represents. Ceroba lied to Clover. She lied to everyone, and despite this, Clover isn't concerned with whether or not Ceroba can be forgiven, as much as they want Ceroba to forgive herself. The truth is Ceroba's greatest adversary. The truth of her actions, but most of all, the truth of Chujin's legacy. Right before Ceroba dons the mask that Kanako gave her and takes on her kitsune form, she vows to fight for this legacy. She doesn't realize that this legacy was born from anger. Chujin was Martlet's mentor. He taught her that monsters can improve their situation through acts of kindness and helping each other. That changed one day when Chujin was out with his daughter Kanako. Chujin was away when he heard the screams of a human attack. Kanako was unharmed, but the monster she was with was not so lucky. Chujin's daughter was almost harmed by a human. This event is what sparked Chujin to begin his work on Axis. The humans had taken everything from monster kind, and Chujin saw this event as humans kicking monsters while they are down. Instead of improving conditions in the underground, Chujin began to propose the idea of an army of robots that would seek out and kill any human who would enter the underground, and then be used in the fight against humans. This is Chujin's greatest failing, and I honestly don't know if he ever realized this. His daughter was okay, a little scared, but okay. Instead of counting his blessings and living his best life, he decided to dedicate his life to building weapons. His disdain for humans began to drive him away from his family. It took up a large portion of his time, it consumed him, and then it took his life. Instead of realizing how much of his life was wasted, he passed his work and his hatred onto his wife, Ceroba. All he ever wanted to do was help monster kind, but this anger made his belief that there was only one way to do it. I honestly wonder what would have happened if Chujin instead made a series of helper robots instead of weapons robots. Chujin was a monster who lost his way, and this warped way was adopted by Ceroba in turn. Ceroba and Kanako sought to carry on Chujin's legacy, fight his war, and make it so his life was worth something. In doing so, they made the exact same mistake. Instead of mourning their loved one and moving on with their lives, they continued Chujin's work, and therefore continued the conflict and the cycle of hatred. It led to the death of Kanako, and even still, after everything she lost, Ceroba is still fighting for the wrong reasons. She claims that she is chasing the small glimpse of sunlight peeking through the clouds, but doesn't realize that she is the storm. She is the aggressor. She is the one who perpetuates the cycle of hatred. Ceroba has become the unstoppable force. Clover is a child who comes down into the underground willingly to help find the missing children. Clover learns about the plight of monster kind, what it has cost them, and what they go through every day. Clover has forgiven Ceroba for everything because that is who they are. They don't waver, they don't give in to primal emotions, they don't seek revenge, and they don't judge. They want justice, and killing Ceroba will not bring justice. Ceroba is a mourning mother who wants to help atone for her dead family. She is just wrong about how to do so. Clover stands for truth. They stand for compassion. They will not lay down and die for Ceroba, but they will not kill her either. Clover is the immovable object. The clash of these two passionate characters causes a stir in Ceroba. She fights and she fights, but Clover remains. Periodically throughout the fight, she is forced to bear witness the memories that have been chasing her for so long. She can't hide anymore from the truth. She understands the series of events which led her to this moment, but she still refuses. She defies the truth. She tries to hold back the guilt of her actions, but she is unsuccessful. Ceroba is stubborn. She's come this far, she's done so much already, she's committed to this act, whether it's right or wrong. Of course, Clover wins. They destroy the mask, and Ceroba collapses to the floor.
My love, my child, all gone. Why wouldn't you just... I swore I had the key. Saving monster kind from their demise. Carrying on his legacy. It was worth the risk to me, but now my life is over.
This mask was made by her daughter, Kanako. It was the last gift her daughter ever gave her, and now all that remains are pieces. This mask was a representation of her family. Before she donned it, she vowed to carry on her husband's legacy, and if her plan was successful, she could have potentially brought her daughter back. She would have regained almost everything that she lost. Ceroba chases this idea of justice for all monster kind, but this isn't justice. This is purely vengeance. Vengeance for her husband, for her daughter, and this vengeance is misplaced. She can't carry out her plan. No matter how hard she tried, it was all for nothing. She just can't take it. She can't hide anymore. She can't deny the truth. She can't mask her feelings, or hide from the reality that she is guilty. She never noticed that her husband was working himself to death, constantly seeking revenge for what could have happened to his daughter. It's over. No more fighting, no more anger. Ceroba cannot go on, so she asks Clover to end it. If you stay the path of pacifism and spare Ceroba, something more profound happens. Ceroba begs for it all to end. She threw away what was left of her life, and she failed to bring it back. She doesn't want to live anymore. She doesn't want to feel this way anymore. When you spare Ceroba, she is genuinely confused. She cannot understand why someone would be so forgiving. This is where Ceroba is at her weakest, and I'm not just saying that because she was beaten by a child. It is in this moment that we see the broken soul that Ceroba has been this whole time. The version of herself she was trying to hide. She can't deny it anymore. Her child is gone, and it's all her fault. She failed, and now she doesn't know how to live. How can she live knowing that Chujin's legacy would never be fulfilled? The truth is, Chujin's legacy was not a legacy worth fighting for. However, maybe they can find a better one.
I don't know what to do. Apologize? Make excuses? Nothing would change reality.
Chujin's legacy wasn't about finishing the serum or taking the fight to the humans. This was his goal, but his real legacy was better than that. He had forgotten why he became an inventor. His entire life he wanted to help monster kind, and in a lot of ways, he did. He mentored Martlet, he saved Ceroba when she was endangered, and he invented so many things to help people. Making things, growing, and helping people. That is the legacy Chujin should be remembered for, not the angry monster who wanted to destroy all of humankind. Loss can be a terrible thing. The fear of loss is also terrible. But neither of these things are as tragic as forgetting to live. This is the biggest failing of Ceroba, forgetting to live. Her family is gone, and it's going to be hard, but she is still here, and she still has a choice. A choice to be better. A choice to use her time left to help people. A choice to carry on the memory of her family. A choice to atone. Ceroba is not alone. She still has her friends with her. Chujin dedicated his life to helping people, and now Ceroba has the ability to help everyone, not just herself, not just Kanako. Clover silently decides to willingly give up their soul so that all monster kind may one day be free. This has been the story of Ceroba Ketsukane. She is a mother who lost everything. In an attempt to get everything back, she did some very morally questionable things. She walked down a path of vengeance, and thanks to a human of pure heart, she learned that she was fighting for the wrong legacy. And maybe one day, she'll find happiness again. Thank you all so much for watching. Goodbye.